Hi, I'm Sasha Ayad. It's October 2024, and here's what's on my mind this month. Give people all the relevant information now. This story begins with a conversation about architecture over a plate of lamb meatballs. My husband and I were having dinner at one of our favorite restaurants in town, where the dining room overlooks a beautiful view of Camelback Mountain. He was explaining why it's such a grave error for architects to overpromise outcomes to their clients. My husband is an architect, and he focuses on higher education, so this includes any and all buildings you might find on a university campus. And as I've come to learn from start to finish, from concept to construction, the process of making a building is incredibly complex and full of details, both big and small. Hiccups can happen at the most granular level and at hundreds of different decision points in the process of design, development, or construction. So on this night, as we enjoyed our appetizers, he was explaining that when architects attain a new client by making false promises or exaggerating promises, projects can get derailed even far into the construction phase. He told me, if a client doesn't have all the relevant information at the very beginning when they're starting to make decisions, they won't be aware of the future trade-offs involved. Then, as they reach decision points that inevitably call for adjustments and compromises, they're going to feel unprepared. And that's why sometimes schedule and budget changes can derail a client and make them come to think that the project shouldn't be completed. Needless to say, this made me think a lot of gender medicine, especially in today's ideological version of gender-affirming care. The entire enterprise of pediatric gender medicine is founded on over-promising and under-delivering. And this is largely because patients are not given all the information they need about their condition and about both the short-term and long-term possibilities. It also doesn't help that the theory of gender identity, which undergirds the psychological and medical interventions, is remarkably weak. A gender identity is someone's sense of gender. Really? You're telling me that a circular definition, something you learn to reject in a high school speech and debate class, is justification for irreversible medical complications for the rest of a child's life? Let me back up for a minute and explain the real issue here. Honestly, there are adults who carefully, thoroughly examine their lives, reflect on their experience of gender dysphoria, and come to believe that medical transition is the best way forward for them. But this kind of sober calculus simply cannot be done without a reality-based understanding of what's going on. You can't safely construct a building if you don't understand the real-world physical properties of materials like concrete, steel, and wood. Imagine if an architect was in denial about the fact that wood is flammable, and then he communicated that denial fantasy to his clients during the design process. This would obviously lead to dangerous risks if the wrong material is used in the wrong context. And in the same way, I don't think anyone can make decisions about their identity or medical transition if they're living in denial about reality. I want everyone with gender dysphoria and their parents to be given reality-based information about the condition of gender dysphoria, about how sexual orientation and gender dysphoria can be related, about the concept of gender identity, that it's hotly debated and there is no consensus on its meaning, about the reality of the sexed body, and about the limits of medical interventions. Reality-based information about all of that. And yet, over and over again, from trans people, detrans people, parents, whistleblowers, etc., we hear that in many clinics, hospitals, or therapist offices, affirming someone's identity takes priority over helping them understand and accept reality. For some people, truly accepting reality will mean that transition is no longer a desirable option for them. After all, many people transition because they think, ostensibly, they will transform into the other sex. But for others, accepting reality could actually improve the outcomes of transition. Understanding your trade-offs helps you feel prepared for challenges as they come and gives you a grounding in reality that is required for psychological and physical health. This is the perplexing thing about affirmation when it's devoid of truth-telling and detached from reality. It actually ends up hurting the very people it intends to help. I heard comedian Jimmy Carr say, "I think we're being kind on the wrong time scale." He wasn't talking at all about gender medicine, but this really resonated with me. Being kind in the long term requires us to give patients all the information now so they can invest in an acceptance-based personal identity rather than a denial-based identity. This is a concept I've been playing around with, and I'd love to hear from you. Would you like me to expand on these notions of an acceptance-based personal identity and a denial-based personal identity? If so, please let me know in the comments, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, as it really helps out my channel. Since you're here watching this on YouTube, be sure you're actually subscribed to my Substack. That's the only place to get the rest of this month's newsletter. This month, I also discuss a recent talk that I gave at the GenSpect conference in Lisbon, where I introduce you to my gender patient Zero. I review Matt Walsh's new comedy documentary, Am I a Racist? I talk about emotionally volatile teens and gender dysphoria, and share some of the parent questions that I answered in my live Q&A last month. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.